The first trains arrived here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania in 1858. It was already a town of over 2,000 people, a place of commerce where farmers brought supplies and a college educated young people. But just 5 years later, the Civil War would arrive here and change the place forever.
This building was a Civil War hospital. There's stories of soldiers coming here, even soldiers climbing up to the bell tower of this building to see the fighting of Pickett's charge on July 3rd.
It is difficult to imagine the sight, sounds, and smells in this town following the first week of July 1863. When President Lincoln arrived here at the depot in November of that year, the scenes were still troubling.
Yeah, the Battle of Gettysburg lasted 3 days, but the aftermath lasted several years. And when Lincoln came here, it was 4.5 months after the battle, so he would have saw a lot of tragedy still remaining here, including this building right here where you had coffins of soldiers waiting to go home.
Although the words Lincoln spoke that day are still well remembered, they could not piece together a town torn apart by the war. Yet those words did provide hope.
His visit arguably brought this town back together. It was really a mess. You had 51,000 casualties in 3 days of fighting, 22,000 dead and wounded left here in Gettysburg, 5,000 dead horses. There's no fresh water. A lot of the women and children were forced to be nurses because a lot of the men were off fighting in other parts of the country.
This depot shares the story of Lincoln's visit to Gettysburg as he remembered the fallen and comforted those left behind. It was a recovery process that would continue long after Lincoln boarded his train back to Washington.
They were still unearthing bodies out on the battlefield months later, and that was a year-long process. So he wasn't in this building long, but what he saw was certainly eye-opening, I'm sure, to what Gettysburg was all about and what happened here.
The nation marked its 87th anniversary of independence as the Battle of Gettysburg concluded that first week of July 1863. Lincoln's address here, 4.5 months later, brought a renewed spirit of optimism amidst a scene of despair. It is a spirit of patriotism and hope that still brings people to this town and this depot today.
Lincoln came here to help us rebuild this town and rebuild the country, and certainly if you look at the Gettysburg Address, that's what his words do. They try to build hope around healing and bringing this country back together. People are still coming to this train station, just as Abraham Lincoln did in 1863, to pay homage to those who fought here. It's a battle that's over a century and a half old, yet a place that is still close to the hearts of Americans. Traveling the countryside in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, I'm Andrew McCrae.